Slowly, in the course of thousands of years, forests took shape on this planet, and like people, evolved to suit the climate in which they grew. Some are ancient, like the great Amazonia. Others, planted to replace forests ravaged by war, are very young. For every question asked about the forests on this planet, there are 1,000 answers. This series was designed to answer some of those questions by taking a look at the forests of today and by attempting to find out what their future holds. We inhabit one of but many planets in our solar system, but ours is unique. For millions of years, life on this planet has evolved, and with it, every imaginable species of flora and fauna. For a very long time, we were relatively few, only several million people on the entire planet, and we lived in easy harmony with the bountiful nature surrounding us. The human race, which came late in the overall scheme of things, managed for millennia to live simple lives with what the forests had so generously provided. Many cultures had at their very center the forest, not only to supply them with the products for survival, but also to provide them with the raw material for artistic expression. The population explosion has come in the last split second of this planet's evolution. Today, the threats to this planet are increasing in proportion to this spiraling population. The fight for enough food to eke out a meager existence is a daily struggle for large numbers of the Earth's people. The short-term methods, such as slash burning, threaten other resources necessary to our survival and the survival of the world's forests. In the Philippines, a global institute for the study of rice has succeeded in doubling the quantity of rice grown per acre in only 30 years. Thus, in spite of the alarming increase in the world's population, there is still rice to consume. But in 3 decades, the population of the Earth will be doubled. What then?
Our vision is not very optimistic. We have to produce more rice for another billion people on less land, with less water, with less fertilizer, with less chemicals, with less labor input. Because one of the most painful work in agriculture is producing rice.
With all these mouths to feed, is there a place for the forests in this planet's future? Wink Sutton from the New Zealand forest industry has seen what effective forestry techniques can accomplish. What kind of future does he predict for this encroachment of mankind on nature?
Currently, the world's population is increasing by 3 people every single second. That's about 90 to 100 million every year. To satisfy their wood needs, we're going to have to find another 70 million cubic meters of wood every year into the future. That means we have to find another New Zealand every 2 months or another British Columbia every year.
Overpopulation and poverty, coupled with ignorance about how best to use the woods, are the largest threats to our forests today. Many parts of the world are running out of time and, literally speaking, Earth. the woods are being destroyed. The Northern Hemisphere has been blessed with abundant, temperate forests. It is from these forests that the sawmills and wood fiber product companies get their raw materials. In addition, the ever-increasing consumption of paper exacerbates the pressure on the forests here. Are we too optimistic about our timber capacity?
Well, I think in the next 50 years, we will get through some of the immediate environmental problems, and we'll get through some of the hysteria, so to speak, and we'll move to another stage where we will manage our forests, and I think management is a correct word, for all of the commodity and non-commodity values. I think we will have forests that will be set aside as preservation forests, wildernesses and parks. I think we will have forests that will be identified mainly as multiple use forests. Those will be primarily public forests. They will be managed for recreation, wildlife, some timber production. And I think the third category will be working forests, which will be in the private sector, and they will be producing the wood and wood fiber products for the future under environmental regulations and oversight. And I think there'll be a balance that will be reached, and there will be greater public acceptance of this in the future. But one thing is very clear to me is that we have to have a more sophisticated level of management of our resources.
Recently, considerable importance has been placed on more sophisticated education for the small timber owners in Norway. Although they have the know-how which has been handed down through generations, as well as an innate understanding of their own forests, the courses complement this knowledge by teaching them about the forest's ecology and variety, as well as practical use of the forest in a sustainable manner. Active forestry has become an important local course offering.
Diametern, ja. Riktig. Og så har vi bredda på brytekammen.
A new organization, Women in Forestry, has been established to encourage other women to become active in all levels of forestry, at the practical and theoretical levels. Another objective is to make their own organization superfluous, because they wish to engage themselves on forestry issues with men and solve the challenges of the future together, to ensure biological diversity and sustainable development. And one of the members, Eva Gålesen, thinks that women will make a difference. I believe that women in forestry will add a new and necessary dimension, she says. We bring in other values, aside from the primarily economic focus, which this traditionally male-dominated industry has embraced. People have always been captivated by the awesome forces of nature. Old Faithful is probably Yellowstone National Park's most popular attraction. This geyser draws thousands of tourists every summer. When a huge tract of this national park was ravaged by fire in the summer of 1988, it became a controversial natural catastrophe. Controversial because the fire was allowed to burn itself out. After the fire, Yellowstone Park, located in the western United States, has become a huge natural laboratory, allowing scientists to study the effects of such fires on the entire ecosystem.
Well, this is the understory of the forest that we saw from across the valley over there. And it burned very hot here. The tree crowns were all burned out, very hot fire. All of the organic matter on the soil surface was burned. There was about 10 centimeters of duff on the forest floor here, and that all turned to ashes. And after the fire, when you walk through here, the ashes would billow up around your feet. It was described as like the bottom of a barbecue pit, all ashes, and some people were afraid that everything was dead. The soil was sterilized. But this whole system has been burned so many times, and fire is such a part of the whole ecosystem that all of these plants are adapted to that.
Before the fire, sunlight could only filter down to the forest floor. Most of it was absorbed by the dense vegetation at the crown, but now the hot Wyoming sun hits the earth with the same intensity as in a clear-cut area. Can comparisons be drawn between ecosystems that result from fire and those resulting from clear-cutting?
There are quite a few differences. There's some similarities. The crown here is not able to keep out the light, and in a clear cut, you have a much larger increase in the amount of light on the forest floor. So there are some similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. Clear cut is not the same thing as a fire.
But species are also coming back there.
Oh yes, in the clear cuts, same kinds of things are going on. The species underneath the forest floor are still there, right.
The area being burned off here lies almost 500 meters above the ocean in northern Sweden. This fire was set. Controlled burning has again become a forestry practice. And this type of burn-off results in a richer variety of both plants and animals. The rich nutrients that remain in the soil give the new plants a good start. We are looking at the world's most controversial forest, the magnificent Amazon, and an issue that is as hot today as it was in the 70s. In fact, there are still thousands of small fires burning, which mark man's dramatic invasion into this, the world's largest rainforest. For the desperately poor, the only thought is to secure arable land. The yellow dots on this satellite picture represent fires that are now burning in the rainforests of the Amazon. This is a picture of poverty. But it's not just the poor who are burning up the wealth of these woods. Under these trees lie enormous deposits of minerals which draw large investors like bees to honey. The iron deposits burn with the same intensity as the trees. Pressure on the Amazon forest has been enormous in the last few decades. This fabulous treasure chest of natural resources has attracted projects on a grand scale. Water power is only one of many. Things are happening fast here, so fast that the woods are drowning in the wake of the water diverted by the power plants. If the trees are to be harvested here, it will have to happen like this. It is an amazing sight. Eucalyptus trees as far as the eye can see. In an area of 2 million square acres, about the size of Belgium, Eracruz has planted eucalyptus trees, and the plantation lies within easy reach of the factory. From there, it is only a little over a mile to the plantation's own port, where the paper is loaded on board ships and exported all over the world. The eucalyptus trees here grow like enormous fields of grain. They reach maturity in a very short time. After only 7 years, the trees can be harvested and processed into short fiber paper pulp, which resembles that produced by birch trees. Only 2 decades ago, this area was one of Brazil's poorest, struggling to grow a meager coffee crop. The soil was exhausted. The vegetation was mostly grass and scattered bushes. The crops were insignificant and hardly worth the effort. Then this land was purchased by Eracruz. From the beginning, there was international ownership and interest in this project. Neatly spaced rows of eucalyptus trees thrive where once grew only sparse coffee plants and wisps of grass. In addition, this once impoverished area is now home to 20,000 people, nearly all of whom make a living from the Aracruz plantation. But is this forestry?
I don't call these plantations reforestation. They are plantations, and they are necessary the same way that we need plantations of corn and potatoes and whatever. We have to plant pulp and firewood and so on, and that is quite normal, as long as we do it in such a way as to be ecologically acceptable.
Every day, new demands are placed on the timber industry to produce even more wood. As a result, tree plantations are growing in size and number all over the world. Many feel that growing only one species of tree must surely exhaust the soil they depend on just like any other crop. New Zealand's Wink Sutton disagrees.
We've done a great deal of research on the effect of trees and the soil. We are confident that on these sites, which are relatively fertile, volcanic soils, we can go on harvesting trees every 30 years for at least the next 2 to 3 centuries.
And as long as tree plantations can meet the growing global demand for timber, forests like these can be left to grow as nature intended.
Plantations satisfy over 97% of our wood supply. In other words, they've changed from 1910, when we had virtually all our wood came from the indigenous forest. Today, almost all our wood comes from plantations. At the same time, we have an industry now which is much bigger than it was in 1910. We satisfy not only our entire demand for wood, but more than half of the wood that we harvest is exported in some form. So we have saved our indigenous forest, and we've provided New Zealand not only with its own wood supplies, but with an exciting and expanding export industry.
I think of protected areas, reserves, national parks, some other phraseology, as something that's integrally important to the long-term benefits of society. And then finally, areas that fit in various compromises or overlaps among those three classes. And the real challenge that I think we face today is deciding how much reserve should be protected.
The forest is a basic resource for people around the world. It is also a basis of biological diversity. It has the wealth of centuries of build-up in our biological background, but it is also used, misused and overused around the world. But it is the basis of economic activity and the basis of wood and the cooking of meals for poor people in many parts of the world. So we have to halt the destruction of the forest cover both by increasing it and by taking care of what is still there. Saving of resources, recirculation, the whole field of energy. The CO2 problem also requires that we take care of the green lungs of the world, which are our forests. And this is why I say that rich countries, like the Scandinavian countries, have to increase their forests. And this, in fact, we are doing now. The forest size is increasing in Scandinavia.